Hey, you guys, it's MJ from All to Love. How are you? So, today I was reading over some of your emails, and one of you, we've been talking, Kurt, we've been talking about debt based economy versus resource based economy. And in our last live share, I asked you to elaborate on one of your comments. And so, in the description box, I've actually put the last little paragraph of part of my exchange with Kurt Mill about creativity and about the creative process, and ultimately how we are creative beings. We are undergoing a rather radical creative process, in as far as this idea of the paradigm shift, spiritual awakening, and of course, mass spiritual awakening is like another thing, but it's all the same actually. And just global transformation ultimately, so like a massive overhaul or system upgrade of the world we were programmed to believe in. Hi Justin, how are you? Justin, I feel like I just saw yours as well, and I was gonna get back to you about that. Good morning. So, and what I loved about, now I've had this awareness in me that often is the case in civilization, that when we're going through revolution or we're going through massive upheaval and change, that this is a time when, well, great leaders and great artists and poets and creators, creative sparks, right, they really come alive, they really kind of come into their own, because in essence it's that creativity that, you could say, builds the bridge to the new world, or builds the bridge, so that we have this kind of gateway to move through into this new reality. Now, one thing I'm aware of in, and what I really loved, you can read it in the description as well, is that there's a process, and he says at the end that this is a valuable thing for us to acknowledge. There's just a bit of a process, but it has value for us, that accessing our creativity from a place of ease, not stress, it's different, is really good for us. It is healthy for us, right? Awesome. Yeah, those are really beautiful, with the red kind of dash through them. Thank you for sharing them, Justin. um, so our movement kind of through this next phase is really interesting to observe. And that piece of us being, there's these two lines about it, regarding, radical creativity, and I think you used the word productivity or proactivity. And that really, really resonates with me, because part of the four pillars for all to love, and this is somebody who went into lots of different, kind of, not lots of different, but a fair few varied spiritual conscious communities in 10 years of diligent yoga meditation practice, to kind of pop out the other side and be like, we still need to take action. It is fantastic that we're coming clear of mind, that we're meditating, that we're becoming more aware of how to be well, i.e., the well being industry, right? Hey, Tech Victor, how are you? So we have these popularization of yoga meditation, and yet what we're finding still is that what we don't want is to just overlay them into the systematic programming. Really, we want to merge our sense of the world as it is with our sense of spirit, with our sense of wholeness, with our sense of integrity, right? We're closing the gap of that disparity. And that's again this idea of, yes, the creativity, hence, hey guys, like movements like All to Love and these sort of things coming, that have a life force of their own, and they kind of direct you, and it comes from that place of creativity, right? It comes from this, and that's ultimately, to me, one of the biggest difference between like breaking free from the enslavement system and endeavoring this manifestation path, is that you're a creator. You create from within. Abraham Hicks talks about this as a teachings, right? We sort of live in the flow of our own signature and our own way of being and flowing through reality. And yet the inspiration is always there. Or not, no. It's more the fact that like we can, once we really align to that center point, that creative spark is inspired in the moment and it kind of takes you. So that creative spark is there with us in that state of ease, that state of surrender, that state of relaxation. We just kind of move with that. And this process is what continues. The more we choose that creatorship path, the more we have access to our creative abilities. And then we yoke them, we practice them, we work with them, and they continue to guide us. It's like you create and then you receive that creation ultimately in a sense, right? Yahoo! Hey Tech Victor, always nice to see you here. Hey Rochelle. Is it? Oh, Rochelle, I gotta say though, like it's I did. I got more sleep and I just feel more chipper today. I was also yesterday. I had big plans for yesterday, you guys. I had big plans, and I don't think I even went outside yesterday. Actually, very very briefly, and then I also had some storms yesterday, and um, yeah. So yesterday I was floored in essence, and this is the thing about those of us here, and or like we come together for various reasons. It's that there's like this deepening sense of like we just got to trust and flow with the energies, and there might be days where your mind is like, right, I'm gonna be busy and I'm gonna achieve lots of things, and then but the cells of your beingness are like, no, you're gonna sleep today, or you're gonna chill. You're going to chill to the max so that your body can integrate the information that we're receiving and downloading perpetually. And right now I'm really getting that last little bit of Kurt's comment about there is a process under us and our ability to understand that process, and that's part of, I would say, these sorts of channels of just like your average gal working on manifestation, like in a real genuine heartfelt earnest way, as far as like manifesting a world that we can all like get on board with and feel safe in and feel like we belong in, and then making sure that we're all supported in living that life on earth. It's just the basic sense of everyone belongs and we should all look after each other and all of that. So going back to the proactivity piece regarding these next, actually I gotta say years, these coming years. Nice one, you guys. Rochelle, I feel you. Um, and they're great, and that's the thing I think of. You could look at it energetically, the mechanistic worldview of our enslavement, like go 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 go. Those of us now embracing these like chill, lazy days where the energies are just like, no, you're not going to do anything. When we really honor that and listen to that, that is the new. That's the new paradigm. That's us living new paradigm way of being versus going, oh no, I'm supposed to be busy, like and perpetually feeding and looking at that disparity and feeding it by not addressing and shining the light of our awareness onto our guilt, onto our fear, onto our shame, whatever it might be. And so I know I had a reflection those last couple of days by some of you saying the heavy, like we've been in the heavies, we've been through another wave of transformation. And yesterday I was getting a real sense of like, boo, like these lids are coming off, right? The pain of the collective is, anyone semi-awake is not going to be able to live in denial of what they're feeling and what they're carrying anymore. It's all coming up for show. It's all coming up for everyone to see. Okay, so going back to the proactivity piece, pardon me, I got to say it's something that I'm kind of like in this weird childlike way quite proud of. Again, because it's been so intuitive and kind of come about in these miraculous ways without me controlling it. But the 4 pillars for all to love it's action based, and that's where like you guys feedback and it kind of holds this space of like you're on the right path. This is where this is the kind of stuff that can really support people, because even the spiritual mumbo jumbo, even all the yoga, I'm finding like these layers of the awakening And so there's like this next wave of awakened souls who are almost, dare I say, like too awakened to go into old paradigm yoga industry, or too, or not like too awakened, but in a way, yeah, like their souls already expanded and resonate with a lot of more and more and more authenticity, and then that authenticity is really gonna like bottom out the fakery, right? And then again, with regard to, so we're creators, we create, we all teach each other and share each other like how to do that and be that, ultimately, like be the creator, so that we are receiving our creations ultimately, right? Our conscious creations, that which we're desiring from our hearts ultimately to see, which we know is in alignment with the human heart, the human collective, and the earth herself, right? And then the piece about proactivity is like action. And that's really I'm like, hey, well done, Ultra Love. Good on you. Because it's action. Zero waste is like going through your house and changing, like direct action of, I'm not going to buy these products, I'm going to buy these products instead, right? Jade. I wonder what is the crystal that keeps, I don't know if it's a crystal or if it's like a gem, but organite. I've seen, I don't know how, how they do the YouTube, they kind of, it's like your, I don't know that you, whatever comes up on your feed. I've been getting quite a lot about like the organite as far as like a super powerful healing stone or crystal. Aragonite. Aragonite. Uh so I've seen titles. I've not actually watched the videos, if I'm being honest. Hey Rochelle, you used Momo super early. I am definitely more cheery. I woke up like very, very excited to wake up. It just happens sometimes. I mean, I'm most days like ready to be like, boom, like wake up. But I yesterday was a little bit more of a downturn. Actually, in fairness, yeah, yesterday morning was like a and then that kind of dissolved. and and I rested a lot, and I probably did like a few handstands and just played and nibbled and ate food and made food and all of that. Hey Alamino, how are you? I'm pretty excited because I've started filming Vegan Love. Organite. They say Oregon. Okay, thanks, Rochelle. It's one of those things, like, when stuff comes up for you and you're like feeling kind of guided to it. So I feel like this is a something I might look into getting for myself and for my home. Oh, I know. I have a feeling that this Oregon stuff is connected to 5G protection, maybe, and maybe like people are trying to kind of keep a lid on it. Pardon me. So yeah, you guys, we could look into Oregon, or if you guys have any, if you experts, some of you are more expert in the world of gems and crystals and their vibrational qualities and sort of essences and what they do. So anything that you guys feel like sharing here is super amazing. Justin Talbot has some really nice, unique kind of gems as well. I hear a lot about Endoras lately. I don't even know what Endoras are. I'm intrigued now. Yeah, I'm doing a lot more. I'm doing a lot with the numbers, and more about this Andoras. I don't even know. I don't even know what it is. Andoras is another gem. So, and we can use these, you guys. Like, this is part of the beauty of all this stuff, is like we're sharing resources that can be actually really helpful to us on this spiritual awakening journey. And apart, again, going back to the four pillars, it's like Oregon. Thank you, thank you, Rochelle. It's the little things that we do every day, right? And so, um, things like this that come into our awareness, people maybe mentioning something that is guiding us. Certainly I know, like, I go off of taking any multivitamins and pills, and then something might drop into my awareness and I'll start taking them again, because it's like something's reflecting back to me something that's going on inside, right? And so it's like sometimes it's all relevant, basically, what we're engaging with, uh and then how we're interpreting that, and then how we're moving through that. And that's a big piece of this process that we talk about. And I know when we're intellectualizing, and I've often done this, and probably been one of these people of like, yeah, we just drop the process, or like, but we don't want to get attached to the process. And uh, ultimately, like, we have processes, we have numbers, we have sacred geometric structures, we have a baseline of firm creative understanding to work from. So us trying to figure out if the process is relevant or not, it doesn't really matter, because we're moving through this creation of ours, whether we want to be real about it or not, whether we want to face what we're moving through or not. And in a way, that's part of the matrix, that's part of the 3D paradigm. Holographic insidious projection is, it's just, let's not be in the real world, right? Let's be in this hologram, let's be in this fake Truman Show type of reality, where there's a whole bunch of oppressed people and a whole bunch of poor people and a whole bunch of, and we just try to pretend that they don't exist, right? So that disparity in our own consciousness is ultimately what's creating this great divide: the rich are getting richer, the poor getting poorer. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been hearing that expression since I was a little girl. So collectively, we've been pioneering through the language we speak and the programs that we ingest. We've been creating all of this, right? And that's the idea of the atonement, or transformation. Ultimately, is that this transformational journey has to continue from within the self. We have to continue to face our projections and integrate them. Most of us, they're pretty lovely, like they're pretty light comparatively to some of the kind of collective karma that's going on right now, that we're going to have to face and heal. Nice. So Justin, I can remember seeing patterns with ayahuasca as well, in maybe the height of the experience, but like, yeah. And also you can see sound. Does that make sense? Like you can, so when people were singing, I could like see the sound waves, if that makes sense. Gems. So Tech Victor, and I maybe have mentioned this in shares before, but most of us who, because I started getting into crystals about 2012, like formally, as for healing and for increasing awareness, right? And that was always a common thing among like crystal people, is that it's like they have a life of their own. So sometimes we have a crystal that like we might get really attached to or just like fall in love with, and it disappears. And a lot of crystal people talk about this, that like a crystal will honestly like leave your life when it's done with you. And you'll be like, I'm sure I just had it in that pot forever. And you're like, it just disappears. And it's sort of like a mysterious thing. But then those of us who get it are like, well, it has a span with you, or whatever it might be. And or your higher self and or your beingness is like, it's time to get rid of this crystal. Because again, they're pretty powerful. I'm hearing conductors. I'm not sure, that would make sense actually. Conductors of energy. Does that make sense to any of you guys who are into crystals? Conductors of energy. Yeah, because you can imprint them, right? You can imprint them with specific intentions. So they conduct that for you. They help to amplify those certain intentional energies in your environment. Um, okay. Yeah, I believe from my awareness, because I only became aware of DMT probably in the last like 5 years. And then so DMT definitely, but I'm aware that DMT as like a thing to take is not the same as ayahuasca, but they have the same chemical compound that make us trip out and have these experiences, but I thought DMT only lasts like 10 minutes or something. Anywho, don't really matter. All right, take a picture. So you did find it again. Okay, good, cool. And that could be it. We might lose it for like 3 days or 5 years and then be like, "Oh my god, I found this. I thought I lost you forever," right? That happens to me sometimes where I'll totally lose something and then it will like randomly appear and it could be like months later and I'm like, "Ah! Ah!" Cuz I'm not very I love my stuff. Like I do as in like I really respect, and that's after most of my adult life of being kind of poverty vibes and like almost like rejecting materiality. So I've come around to this place of really respecting my the things that are around me. Like you guys know I do all like secondhand. So these things are all found like in charity shops and like all the lovely cushions and whatnot. And so like I do love, and I talk about this in Spirituality Simplified, where I think week 3 is all about like loving, honoring, and respecting the space around you. And I've talked to you guys about some of this. Hey, Revelate Records, like it's really nice, especially this time of year, you guys, like springtime, spring clean, like go through some cupboards, go through some closets, get rid of some junk DNA, be willing to, and that's something I used to cleanse continuous and probably for about 13 or 14 years after my awakenings, I literally just traveled around this country with my backpack and would go from one situation to another, never really wanting to accumulate anything. And yet, what's shifting for me is this, and I was, I had like 2 pair of trousers that were ripped, and I was teaching yoga and stuff, but then there was this sudden slight shift in my perspective as far as, oh no, and that this is where the self-love stuff came in, was that I realized that that renouncing of material world was actually weirdly like another edge of a lack of love. Like I starting to see that I was like rejecting my desire and my deservingness to feel good and to respect myself and dignify myself and all of that. And that's the proper stepping in to this self-love practice, is like I was like, oh no, I deserve. And obviously I was finally making money doing something I loved and everything felt in alignment. And so some of that shift now is like you gotta like love in this kind of like graceful and humble and like devotional way, like love and care for our bodies and the world around us, but not in a power over attachy controlly way. You know what I mean? Like not in a way that like any of my clothes or even the way my body looks or this stuff that I have, that stuff doesn't make me better than other people. But once you align yourself, the stuff around you is simply a reflection of your state of being, your state of consciousness. And that's often stuff that we don't want to look like or look at on the path. And I'm talking people that are professionally on the path as well. Like I'm not wanting to go around and be hard on people for having a messy house or what have you, but people who are preaching and talking and da 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 da, and then you might go into their home and it's a fucking clutter fest or a hoard fest or it looks all shimmery shiny, and then you check the cupboards or like in the drawers and they're a fucking state, right? They're like a whole bunch of shit is just shoved in there. And then you have to acknowledge like what's outside, there's that reflection. And okay, again, this isn't about being hard on ourselves. In fact, if this is the reverse, this is having so much compassion that you're looking around thinking there's a whole bunch of stuff that don't res with me, doesn't resonate with who I am anymore, it doesn't resonate with where I'm going, and in fact it feels like a fucking burden, so I'm going to get rid of it. And I think that is a lot. So very few times I've actually worked with hoarders, and well, hoarding it is a sort of dis-ease. There is a malalignment. It's always based in trauma. In fairness, all distortion, all dysfunction, and all malalignment is based in trauma on some level. So the hoarding is sort of like running away from and piling up all this stuff to try to like, it's really representative, right? And then once we start, and the miracle is that once you've on the physical plane work through the hoard, work through it, move through it, And it can be quite difficult. It can be quite challenging for the hoarder because the stuff as it comes up to go is bringing up the release and the healing of the trauma. And then once you get through usually the first like two, maybe just one, but once you get through two or three kind of emotional storms around the release of the burden of the past, eventually even the hoarder is like, let's get rid of it, let's get rid of it. Because they start to feel that elixir of freedom. They start to feel of like, oh my god, I don't have to hoard, I don't have to hold on, I don't have to keep carrying this stuff around with me anymore, I can let it go. And that was something I was having a great conversation last night about, that around like our like just our ability to be present with what is, and to ultimately let everything just like move through our awareness like that, right? Hi John Beanie, oh my gosh, you guys, I've just been blabbing festing on forever. And hey, I'm going right back up to Revel Records. Yeah, there's a lot of you, and I totally like I feel that as far as resonance goes. Like I get why there's a resonant connection with a lot of people from the west coast of American Portland, Seattle, right? Just because of like the energy vibrashe. I definitely would like to like go over that way as well. But yeah, the Midwest and west of America, I see a lot of you guys are here. John Beatty! Right before going live, John, I was looking over at like one of your song postings from, I think it said it was 10 hours ago, and I was like, oh, I have to go back to that. Um, what was it? It was just something lovely, like believing in ourselves, or anyway, I'm looking forward to going to listen, John, when I finish here this morning. Ah, Rochelle, exactly. But this is what I mean of like when once, and like I'm talking hoarders that like sometimes you can barely walk through their house. Like hoarders that have like rooms that are non-usable because of how much stuff is stacked. And it's not like, and I've talked to you, Rochelle, it's not like collectible things. It's not like there's a series of collectibles of comics. It's stacks of paper and just stacks of clothes, and like stacks of unwashed plates, and like it can be, there's definitely, just like all dis-ease, there's definitely a varying like a varying degree of hoardiness, if that makes sense, right? I also hint, this is also why I am this way, is I, as a child, one of my grandfathers was a borderline hoarder. Now, what was interesting upon my recollection was like, oh, but grandma's part of the house was always like clean, and she'd have like little crystal dolls around the tables, but like really clean. Like your grandparents' house, like we'd always sit in grandma's rooms because that was always nice. And then the kids would like go downstairs, and actually when I look back at my grandfather's rooms, they weren't like as bad as some hoarding situations I've seen, but there's definitely like that imprint on me as a child. And like this was my recollection, certainly, was that like there was at one point on my grandfather's property, he had 8 cars and none of them worked. And that I so that to me, I was just like, it's one thing being a collector. It's one thing like I needed this stuff. But then, in fairness to him, I'm sure he just, and like bless his soul, like he was endeavoring to work on those cars and drive them around, and some of them were pretty lovely little cars. And now I just look back and think, yeah, to each their own. However, hoarding can get to the point where it does affect our lives in a negative way. And those are the people that I tend to work with. Like in fairness, the example of my grandpa wasn't that, but and now I'm remembering as well. Hi, these are the war babies. Like most of us still have a grandfather who would have served in a world war, and that's high trauma. That's pretty severe trauma. So hoarding or any kind of post-traumatic stress disorder or syndrome is probably pretty likely when it comes to our heritage, our parentage, right? So, and it's not that far off. So hoarding, I would say, is very much a kind of post-traumatic, like safety, a feeling of safety, realism. Then yeah, I asked about that as well. There's some. So do you guys, Rochelle? I don't know if you have any awareness of like some of the chakra points are moving with the pole shift. Is that I think people think that the heart is in Glastonbury. Actually, that could make sense as well. So Glastonbury, like Stonehenge in this country, the heart chakra of the planet. Um, Titicaca, I feel in Bolivia. There's a lake in Bolivia. There's the sacral, I believe. I'd be interested to know more about your guys' intuition on this. I'm sure there's things actually documented. And then Shasta as the root is what your vibrashe says, right? But Britain is the heart of Earth, and look where you moved to. I know. It's all guided, my friends. I just remember buying my one-way ticket to England, being like, one, I'm pretty sure I'm not coming back to Canada. And I was, the dream I had. So I'm guided by the green ray. The green ray is the color of the heart chakra, and I'm in my 20-year-old mind, I'm like, well, they speak English. That's a place to start for my travels, right? For the new paradigm, the paradigm shift. And I'm thinking I'll land in England and everyone's going to be all heart, love, vibration. I'll find the new paradigm and rest in peace. 17 years later, here we are, still having the conversation. Right. So England is the heart. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay. Okay. Interesting. This is it. This is it. I mean, guys, I do say all of this with no judgy vibes. I but it is there. We can face ourselves. And this is also part of the next wave of teachers and pioneers or vision, whatever title we give that. But with this greater awakening, what is so beautiful and supported about all of it is that we just have more love and support to support ourselves through it. So even people with some really shitty karma coming for them, it's like, it's weirdly like it could be easier than what we might think. And that's beautiful. Like we're a big part of that, being like, well, we might have been judged really harshly, but we're not going to turn around and do the same. The heart of compassion doesn't desire vengeance, right? Or revenge, because it's already the self. So like all of us are essentially like healing that and forgiving that and coming into unity, and we're just going to have to watch it all unfold from this place of grace, right? And benevolence. Hey Mike, how are you? Wow, interesting. So is the sex chakra a portal into the Kaka, no doubt. Yeah. One of my friends actually, he kind of dips in and out of here. Um, yeah, yeah. There's definitely a leg Titicaca. There's definitely a portal. Anyway, I bet there's some really fascinating channels that can totally shine light on all of this, right? Yes, ice dragon, rainbow ice dragon at that, even better. Yes. Okay. So we've got a solar storm today. I'm going into town to meet up with a friend and have some coffee, or maybe we'll just go for a walk. I'm not sure. But you guys, oh, have I told you lately how much I love you? I'm so looking forward. And like it's amazing to me, like, yeah, just our ability to keep showing up for each other. And like again, like this is one of for sure my favorite times of the day, when I just get to share from the heart and have you guys show up and share with me, because it feels amazing. Basically, the dragons are coming. The dragons are coming. Oh, and also, it's like that's making me think of how a lot of us are getting more download about our like various existences in varying realms. And so I feel like we're getting a lot more light code activation around like the myth, and maybe you could even say like the archetype. So the goddess and the mermaid and the elves, and and by this I really just mean it's a frequency, frequencies, right? There's a series of vibrations that we can begin to unlock, which allow us to really kind of um oh, I guess it's grace. I guess it's really, really just grace at the end of the day. Interesting. I feel that. Yeah. But it's like I don't know. It's not really the same, but like for me it feels into it as far as like it's like that thing of like I'd rather be with myself in truth and harmony than, be with all these friends and with all this money and all this stuff and not have that sense of centeredness or harmony. Like I think a lot of us have reached that point, hence the collective awakening, hence us all um like seekers in the dark and like going, wait, you feel familiar, the words that you use and the languages and the feelings and that you invoke, i i I resonate with it, right? Like I feel it, and I think that's like more and more and more what we are doing, being, living, and tangibly anchoring in those energies, and at the same time mega heart love of compassion, yo, because these last few weeks, and I'm speaking obviously for myself, but like from Bali, end of the year, and it just started to like boom, and the waves have been pretty consistent over these last few weeks, and I feel like because we're now transiting the last degrees of Uranus moving out of Aries into Taurus, this is the worst bit in a sense, like emotionally, energetically, just like like when are we going to be able to move forward? And in fairness, from the journey I've lived, where this is it, us meeting, aligning, and sharing like this is the movement moving us forward, right? And so in this kind of divine miraculous way, it's all done. We've already arrived. The new paradigm is just unfolding from our heart space, right? And then in there, John Beatty, like Soul Family Reunited, us, this is miraculous, there, and this is really a beautiful sign of our evolutionary leap, and the promise of more beauty and more integrity these next few years, and certainly the build up to the in these next 18 months. And then after that 18-month phase, for a lot of us there will start to be like a new rhythm grounding, and that new rhythm, of course, is in greater harmony, right? How many of you guys are any of you guys being guided to land? I'm curious. Also, if that's sparked a question or a insight, just email me privately. You guys know the flow, right? I really appreciate you guys addressing the things that I ask of you. Pardon me. Um, yeah, are any of you guided to land? John! John! Oh, mega hot love vibration. And I can feel everyone here, John, is going, love hot vibration for John Beanie. Love hot vibration. And for your friend, for sure, as well. Oh my god. And that's reminded me to make sure, just, and people are on their journey. And I gotta say, even when it comes to suicide, we respect people's sovereignty and trust and know that they did what was right for them in their sacred connection, right? Yeah, Rochelle, guided to land. So just sharing like really honestly with you guys, I regularly like have visions and have done probably probably since like 2010, if not like throughout my life. But like I keep getting a vision of just land, and then I can see structures. It's all like sustainable village grid vibes. Um, I just have spoken to some people where I'm suddenly aware, I'm like, wait a minute. It's like a lot of us have the same vision. And then that makes me think like, oh, like new paradigm quest people are now like, as in Uranus and Taurus, it's time to build. It's like it all feels really like real, like as in we have to go to the land, we have to build community off grid, we have to completely now begin to remove ourselves from that and tangibly build the new. And that goes back to the proactivity of what Kurtman was saying, of like, we live in a time of radical creativity. We need to tap that creativity, and we need to expose it and work with it and share it, right? And that's what I love about these courses, are just like the practical side of it. Practical action. Sit down. That's practical. Unplug your TV. Practical action. Stop buying certain products. Practical. So, and then the vegan. I'm loving creating this vegan course, and I'm actually loving documenting a non-vegan journey, because we're getting all this valuable, like the pitfalls and like really simple things, like making sure we read the ingredients list to stuff. I totally forgot about that. And then it's like when you're not a vegan, you don't necessarily do that, right? And so it's like the little things, and also straight up like the bowels, like it's good for us, right? Hey, Tech Victor, oh, nice one. I know you got your trailer and your cat, and you guys live in like a nice part. So do I. I'm sure, but wherever we're going to be guided, we're going to be guided, right? Hey, Kurt Mill, I'm actually like winding down, but this whole topic share was based on that email you shared me about like just the times that we're living in, and understanding creative process, and us really tapping that infinite creative spark that we are. And like, this is the juice of life, you guys. We are that this is the whole plight of like the teacher, as it were, to be like, oh my god. So all of these teachings, all of these spiritual teachings that we've come across, it's all true and it's all real. Like, we are the light. We just have to believe in ourselves enough and drop into that and be that. And once we are that, that is the creative spark that we are. So whatever that centered, like truthful knowing that thou art, that is your creative elixir. That's where the natural creative elixir, like I can feel in ebbs and flows how that continues to look for me, like painting. Like, I randomly got really into painting about maybe 10 years ago. I know that's coming back. Singing, making music, making more videos. Like, you can feel, once you're really in your essence flow, you can feel it, and you just know the truth of it. And it's liberation. It's liberation. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You will know when you get there. You will absolutely feel it. And that's just how it is. Oh yeah. Perfect. So that's a big one, John Beanie, as well. Like, and it's weird, and it's not about fear mongering at all, but like straight up, I'm like somebody who's like, yeah, I want to be growing my own food. Yeah, I want to make sure I have access to clean water. I want to make sure, like, it feels like this sense of like, we want to return to learning how to live locally, right? And in harmony with the local environment. Hence, again, week 3 from Spirituality Simplified, and week 7, we have interviews with Sasha and interviews with Thomas J from New Earth Project. And this is about the reason why all this inner spiritual work is super important, is that we need to be vibrating the bioresonance field of the land that we're on. So there is an integral harmonic that we're aligning from within the self, which is signature. It's familiar to us on a soul level. And then once we align with that, we essentially vibrate that oneness, unity consciousness, bioresonant field on the Earth's plane. And then that's the unfolding and or ascension of Earth herself, living in her unity state, right? I agree, Kurt Mel. And I think all this is something happening. I'm strongly yearning maybe for a tribe in Guyana. You feel it. See, this is it. So yeah, this makes sense. We are being we are being guided. Hey, MJ, did you watch Wally? Yeah, I reference Wally sometimes, as far as like, that premonition of, in fact, that's something I've had company these last few days. And what has been really nice is like when I finish my morning like work hours, I have been putting it away and just like engaging with a human. And I feel really like, it's weird. I feel more playful and more innocent because because, well, and I am aware of it, but like there's like this tick. It's like this kind of like, I need to check my phone. There's no point in checking my phone, but like I need to check my phone. And so it's really nice to have another aware human being who's also conscious of putting the phone away, where life continues. Like life will just continue without us double checking whether or not we have a message, right? Or a phone. Naturally. Oh, hydroponics. I do know a little bit about hydroponics. Also, you guys know I'm into plant medicine. I'm into us bamboo and hemp and using planting and growing the most sustainable and multi-used kind of plant, right? Oh yeah. Oh no, Kurt, you're making me think of the other side of it as well, as far as I often, when I speak of Wally, I almost go right to the impact of like just being these sort of fat drones that are like pressing buttons and being like consumers, and yet the Wally character is us. Like us remembering the purity of plant, the purity of our blueprint, and then wanting to preserve and love that, and love it so much that it can grow and unfold, and we can grow and unfold with it. And that again is bioresonance. That's harmony from within the chamber, right? One of you have sent an email, and I there's some intricacy in there that I definitely want to go over and probably talk more about. Well, and if we were to say that, it's like, what was the villain? The villain was the corrupted human, the kind of unconscious, apathetic, complacent consumer was in essence um the representation, right, of our own villainhood. And yet Wali was the representation of our beauty, of our purity, of our goodness. But you're right, as far as it was an evolved I want to say like not political, but like social uh story or premonition. There's a word, not satire, not a social satire at all. Right, exactly. Like the villain could be the representation of the apathetic fat drones that can barely walk. Like, isn't there a bit where one of them just like tries to roll over and they're like, whoa. And the weirdest thing is like that is our reality. Like that is our reality, and that is us. We're the Wallies going, guys, 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 like let us preserve our plant kingdom, because we are the kingdom, and we want to be in union with it, not dominate it, not control it, not try to corrupt it or manipulate it, right? So we find that alignment within the self, and then birth it. We're in it. And oh my god, that makes perfect sense. This is like another piece of these energies as far as last degrees of Uranus or whatever. And I had a friend, like, you guys know I don't have kids. I've never given birth, so I don't have that experience. And although I could imagine it, but uh one of my good friends came over, and she's also an online entrepreneur, and she was like, oh my god, like these energies are just, she's like, you've not given birth, but there's this time, like you have this intensity when birthing starts, when pregnancy begins, and the womb is starting to contract. So there's like all this intensity coming and building and building and building. And then apparently there's sort of this like break time when I'm really don't know science or biology around this stuff, which would put me anyway. So apparently there's this little break, and then you have to start pushing again once the baby's head or body gets into the birth canal. And she said that and this is this is very common for women who are giving birth. It's that they get to that midpoint and they're like, okay, I'm done. No, I don't want to push anymore. I'm done. Like it's over. I don't want to have to continue. And I think that some for sure I can share, like, certainly for me these last couple weeks I have definitely hit up some moments of being like, what? I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired. I can't keep going on my own. Like hitting up against those energetic walls of just being like, yeah, but I've been doing this for 6 years. I can't, like it's and yet we all know that we're going to keep going no matter what. We all know that we've already way, 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 way past the point of no return when it comes to paradigm shift, right? Yeah. Dude, relentless self-reflection. It is. And relentless deductioning it or deducing, relentless, like, yeah, just awareness and looking at self and being like, where is that coming from and how that da, 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 da. And but this is a big part of these collectives of humans coming together that are more empathic in nature, that are visionaries in our ability to see the promise, to see the, like, that is real, that is anchoring itself into our beingness, right? I know you do, Tech Victor. I know you do. We're all for sure one. This is for sure like soul family connection, all of it, because it's really a reflection of the conversation that's probably been going on in a lot of our minds, right, for a while, and now we're vocalizing and sharing, which is just beautiful. Oh, okay. Hey, Kurt, do you know the day? What day do we actually move to Taurus? In 2011. I'm gonna look at the date. I wanna look back at the day because I would have been. I'm thinking of like where I was transiting and what I was moving through a critical event, definitely, and being in Taurus for sure. There we go. March 6th. Okay, so March 6th, and then building up around which we're in. That's what is that, like a week away or something like that? Yeah, a week away. So now we're building up to this really rather profound shift. And the heaviness is us feeling the squeezing of all the residue of past projection, past creation, past energy, past being held down, persecuted, whatever. And like also the end degrees of like, I can't handle any more of this. I can't do it. And then boom, it goes into March 6th, it goes into Taurus. And either, yeah, some pretty huge cataclysmic events or globally shifting events, and then our own worlds. So we will completely, I'm so aware of this. Like I'm like certain, in fact, there's just gonna be a whole bunch of shit that comes in that like I knew had to come in, but I just didn't know how or why or when. And then it's gonna come in. And for a lot of us, it's gonna start to feel pretty um like uh, shocking maybe, or just radical. That's the theme of this share, is the radical creativity. So, and hence why we have us here. It's the love hot vibrashe, which anchors and organizes activity in the most harmonious and loving way. So part of us in like the love brigade, our energy frequencies are really here to hold space for the masses as they continue to awaken. Like just ground in, meditate, relax a lot, support one another. And that's something that Alta Love has absolute commitment to, is like supporting relief efforts where they're needed, supporting people and projects where they're needed, and of course being self-supported and self-sustainable. There it is. Hey Norbert, how are you? Nice to see you this morning. Oh, it's such good wake up times. We are well. We're having a good chat this morning. I Mike, with a room number, please stand up. Awesome, and yourself. You guys are pure badassery, and I absolutely love you. I agree. I agree, Kurt. I'm having really good engaged conversations in these last few days, and I I love you guys. Kurt Mill, this is something I think that has been in a lot of our awarenesses for some time, is that there are descending upon our collective story, our big changes, right? And that I think this is the big change that is shaking up the the blindness, the enslavement, victimhood, and then rising people up. Oh, Kurt Mill, you're right now. You're protecting yourself, Kurt Mill, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. Good, good, good. Do you like protective light bubble and like also inner cellular light stuff? So project around your field a kind of divine light that can protect your field and actually radiate that stuff outside of you, but then also stay really withdrawn where and if you need to, bless you. Yeah, the energies are like the squeeze off, I think, of the final degree that we can all feel, moving into some unexpected changes and turns. And again, I've said it before, but I sometimes just get this real sense of like that gazelle energy of like we're perched on the edge, like ready to jump, or we're perched on, yeah, ready to jump, ready to dive, ready to like take a big step. And yet it's not just there yet. So we're like, oh, but like but there is, we've arrived, the new energy, the new consciousness. We're endeavoring that creative. And then this is like a funny one. I have to sit with it more, but like we have to keep choosing it. We have to keep creating it. We have to keep guiding it from within our consciousness, right? Yeah, thank you, John. I am also there with you. Like, send love to Kurt and the fam. Command PB Stardust. Oh, see, we're just healing each other. We're just healing each other, you guys, through these big waves because it's quite intense. But I think we can all like reflect back to each other. We're doing great. We're doing really good. Um, and we are, in those miraculous quantum ways, we're rippling out love and positivity and organization. Works for headaches. Curious what that is. Pardon me. Yeah, Kurt Mill. So straight up, like, I don't even believe in sickness in that regard. Your body's not sick, the body just clears or purges or whatevs, right? So if I like, I had a cold, I probably had like a the symptoms of what the human collective call a cold, which again to me, it was very apparent that my body was purging. It was like, oh, I'm just clearing out some dormant toxic energy that I've been carrying around for a while. My body's not unwell. If anything, it's the opposite. Once the sickness makes manifest, or that dis-ease makes manifest in the physical, it's actually leaving you. It's actually on the way out. It's actually a healing. It's not it's not the other. But there again, these are all just the subtle ways in which we are reversing the world's thinking and living a new paradigm where we are the kind of creator of our field. And then as we unify with other beings also in their sovereignty as creators, we co-create consciously, right? Yeah, I feel you. Same, Kurt. I had the same for years and years. It was the kind of go go go, crash out, burnout. Regular meditation and regular relaxation. Crystals can be of service, but you rarely get sick, so you're good to go, right? Norbert, I'm interested. You have a healing or a? I feel like I missed something that you might have. Um. Anyway, keep sharing, you guys. Totally. Kurt Mel. So basically, the way I see it is, it's like a corrupted command. Oh, it's the command PB Stardust. Okay. Um, yeah, Kurt Mill, for sure. That's again, like I think a big part of our function is that we're aware of it and there's still the mass denial slash this is normal. This is just what life on earth looks like. And then we're kind of popping out going, guys, we can do it better. We can live well in these bodies. We can harmonize all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's it. If we're running on an off balance kilter, that's going to affect our physical body. It's at least this is what I love about for me, like this sort of new level of this, yeah, new sense of engagement is like working with other conscious beings where it's like we're aware. So we're this the fact that we're aware of it means we're already undoing it, right? You're not just going, "Oh, I'm sick. God, my body is such a blah blah blah," blah," or like, "God damn, that person sneezed on me," and so blah. It's like, no, reflection. Look at the signs. Look at the little trigger points, and then it's like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm doing this to myself." And I have a client as well that there's an aspect of that. This is a commonality that because we're becoming more aware, we're now asking of ourselves to go even deeper into our patterned reality and look at if we can uproot some of the stress patterns, which we can absolutely. Hey there, Justin. Yeah, and also I'm thinking of something whereby it's the shift, right? But this is a perspective I have around it is that once the physicals manifest, we've actually already shifted the meta. So we've so and or there but and not or necessarily, but and like what Kurt is reflecting is that we can once the physical does manifest, we can like work with that and be like, okay, I've clearly shifted some expression, or I've shifted something that's going to allow me to express with greater clarity, that's going to allow me to express with greater compassion. John, exactly. More songs, and it's subtle, this stuff. This is like what I talk about in the vibrational storming. And then you every single storm, after a storm, you're going to have a subtle perspective shift, right? But the subtlety is often what people are not paying attention to, and then before we know it, we kind of get looped in patterns. With that, MJ, I think it takes years for us to actually manifest symptoms. Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure, for sure. Well, and especially in this is something where I think you're probably quite right in the old paradigm, but in new, like this is part of this acceleration belt that we're in new. So like as more and more of us have this awareness and are doing this healing or activating this perspective, it gets easier and easier and easier for people to like jump over. And so once more of us have this perspective, then the way we deal with it, heal it, it becomes quicker and quicker and quicker. And then it actually starts to dissolve almost miraculously in the mass collective because of the quanti, right? Because of how quantum uh, uh, reality actually works. And we're merging with that. And so we really quite literally are dissolving the old world as we were taught it to be. Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, more denial, less awareness, the longer it takes to heal. More, less denial, greater awareness. Then we ramp up, we shift, and again, this is not just intuitive, as in this is stuff I practiced when I had physical sick bugs manifest in my body. I was just present with it rather than like, oh my God, I'm sick. I was like present and I was going, look at all this toxicity my body is clearing. And it's like I just knew intuitively. I'm like, I've just been carrying this weight in this inside, and now I'm purging. Now I'm getting rid of, and it felt so good. It was like like feeling so good to get rid of all of that and cleanse it out. And the kind of positive proof of the put here is that those times when a cold or whatever flu symptoms would manifest as a younger person, even in my 20s when I was practicing mind over matter, I would often get cold for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it would maybe dissipate, and then it would come back. I'd be coughing and I'd feel so ill, and then I'd get better and it would come back. So like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I would just have these colds. And then again, like say 2 years ago, or maybe even 3 years ago, was the last time I had those symptoms manifest in my body. And it was like 2 days. 2 days, stayed in bed, chilled out, cough loads, snot out loads, and then it was gone. Because I was loving my body. Because I was like, I know you're safe, you're clearing, you're not, I wasn't being hard in it, I wasn't resisting it, it was just having to clear out. So it went awesome. We are all holding. Um, that's a great conversation one. More denial. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I worked that one out, Kurt Mill. Rochelle, Rochelle. Yes, yes, Rochelle. 100th monkey effect. Sleepy love to you, Karen. I woke up this morning like charged. We need to decalcify the pineal gland. My awareness about decalcifying the pineal gland has to do with some of the water we're drinking, and also potentially like fluoride in water and in our products. Justin, if you want to share more, or any of you guys, if you want to share more about that as a process, how to decalcify the pineal gland, um, uh, that's definitely like a thing when it comes to this awareness. Like, um, I've met like a few people in my life, but that have quite hyperactive, like we're quite like seeing through veils, awakening. Once you start doing all the emotional clearing and cut out fluoride as well, you'll really start to kind of open up and see a lot more of the self, reflected back, and be able to contain it and hold it and trust it as well, because then we can, the trusting of it is ultimately how we can anchor in our cosmic self, the broader aspect of our consciousness. We can anchor that in by, like owning that totality as well. Hey Dasha, how are you? Alrighty, my friends for life. Oh, thank you. Kurt Mill, I'm using that, my friend. Kurt Mill, vegan comment. um, I've definitely noticed this is going to be like a little, um, yeah, because it's like there's a clear channel, right? And so stuff comes up, but then it can shift quicker as well. So healing quicker as a vegan. Things like our meditation, fairly regular meditation and relaxation practice, that can intensify. Like we become more like Wolverine, right, Rochelle? um, and heal quicker. Things come up quicker. Yeah, that's the light body. I would say that is that's part of the shift. It's also where, again, not listening to social programming around rightnesses and wrongnesses, or like it's good to do this and it's bad to do this, because there are things in those polarity constructs that might be socially deemed unacceptable, but you're in alignment with it. So again, we need to be really, and then vice versa. Like we have things that like that works for some people, it don't work for all of us, and that includes everything, you guys. That includes alcohol, that includes anything. Ugh, I know, Kurt Mill. I know, and this is all part of the ushering. This is part of the ground control work. This is the actual like the actual work would be, we have a complete shape shifting. The structural water systems will shift, energy systems will shift, and really we want our persons, each tribe or collection of people, need their own clean water source. The vivid dreams, I'm weirdly tech Victor. I might have had one lately, but they are coming back more vividly. But other people have been reflecting that back, and I'm not even a big dream person, but I've been inquiring after people's dreams. So there is definitely a like, like a in the ethereal. So where our consciousness is going when our bodies are asleep, I think is relevant right now. I randomly, this is just coming through. I think we're actually doing a lot of work in dream time. Oh, personal filter straw. That sounds interesting. And I think there might be other things you can do, like buy charcoal, or like nowadays there's even bottles that I think have the actual filter system in them. Yeah, John, you have quite vivid dreams. I'd be curious about them, if there's any resonant or sort of visceral crystallizing senses. I've also been meaning to ask you about your neighborhood and how that's going. Ah. Okay, John. Yeah, I've like no kidding, lots of work. Okay, okay, that's good. That's an affirmation, right? Dream you worked some of my deepest fears using the phobia as a prop. I never had nightmares until last year. See, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. This is really, really cool. This is actually beautifully so. I drop into rest and I get certain, usually specific messages in dream state, but I've not been kind of dreaming like that for a few years now. And but this is our dream spell, right? This is us creating new dream spells. So you guys are a reflection of that for me. And the fact that you were saying I was helping saving people from a flood in a train station, I've been having nightmares. Yeah, we're so we're basically just ground control vibrational cleaning crew on every level of our beingness. While we're dreaming, while we're awake, while we're resting, we're just doing work. Brilliant, John. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'm part of a group that's trying to save the people. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I just think that aligns with the mish. Like that's like we can all kind of talk to one another because we all have this like innate mission feeling of like guys, 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 guys. Like, don't you realize you can unlock your own freedom consciousness? And that's part of our purpose. We're here to be the freedom that humanity is endeavoring to leap into, right? And we're just either building bridges or we're building new paradigm worlds for them to leap into, or we're I'm seeing us like it's like bombarding light into certain fields, which is the saving. That's part of broadcasting. That's us part of not just going off to be monks in a thingy. We're channels. We're shifters. We're moving humanity from one paradigm to the next. And so um so yes, there's a function in this idea of like broad bombarding those mass pockets or wherever we're placed essentially on the planet. Our frequency does it. We don't have to like be like care bears and like do it together physically. We do it by the emanation that we are, right? So we really literally are bombarding light into darkness and having to stand our ground continuously. And I think the bombardment is also part of us getting bombarded in dream state. Yeah, 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 same. There's no escape. You have to do both. Well, and but this is something as well as like it's just we ebb and flow with our dreamscape and our dream spell. But I'm totally with you as far as my imagination and my dream reality is one with this, as in I don't there's no precedent on like, oh yeah, that external world is more real than what's going on inside of me. That's part of the new paradigm. Acknowledge, yeah, we acknowledge that, but we live from that truth, and so we honor and respect and uphold one another's dreams, one another's imaginations, because we acknowledge it as like service to bring forth into the world, right? We are absolutely multidimensional beings, and this is part of us allowing the human vessel to be more of what it is, to be more to be the greater potential that it has access to as a being, hence shining light so that any malevolent energy which is trying to debase that, which is trying to deny that greater light filled potential, that's what we're like like shining light on that darkness, 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 and then clearing our passageway. This is part of what we're doing for one another. We're showing up for one another to remind one another that we know what we're doing, that we're on a quest, and we have to keep going. And I can see it, like a lot of us, like working together, whether remotely or not. This to me is like binding um, new codes, new frequencies, right? Yeah, 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 same Kurt Mill. That's the fluidity, that's the timelessness, is that there is no separation. We don't, and it really like when the more fluid one becomes, the more easily we can, especially in other people's presences, we can usually feel where there are kind of holes or I always call them the blind spots because I think we all certainly are perpetually unlocking those or shining light into those blind spots. But the more in unity you become, the more obvious it is where people are looping back in mental rather than embodiment, right? Yes, because that's discernment. That's something different. That's using whole logic. Categorization is just a way for us to better understand things. It's not perception from separation. But then because of the way we all communicate, the majority of us here are in unity. We're already living that new more holistic and unified vibration in the heart because we wouldn't find each other if we weren't already like vibrating the vibration of love. Show what it is like in here. Interesting. Nice. Oh, you guys. Tech Victor. Dreams help me work out fears too. See. We're just working it out nonstop, working it out, moving, flowing, working it out. That's been like my expression lately is just let's just be present and then work on the knots as and when they appear, right? Let's not be present but projecting all the knots that are gonna come and befall us. It's like let's just be present in love and faith and trust and move from these energies of love and faith and trust and have faith that whether in conscious awake time or dream time or whatever that we're transforming fears. And I'm really getting this, guys. We are doing more work for the collective than I think we could realize. We're transforming more density in dream and in real time and through this consciousness field that we are. We're really transforming more darkness and more density than I think we could ever be aware of, like on a conscious level. And yet maybe we'll start to see some of that with our newer manifestations and like when we can all meet up in Oregon or Seattle or wherever it is where all to love could like have a little bit of a party. Hey, hey. And it's gonna just be so fun. Yeah, yeah, Justin, I get that as well for sure. This is, I would say, as well, unlocking the cosmic origin and remember your like your I'm hearing like your galactic self. So we are operating on those varying timelines, you know, all at once. And so there is an aspect of my beingness that's like having meetings with intergalactic beings as we're as we're here. I feel you. Yeah, for sure. Fractals of the cosmos. Healing a schism of disparity ultimately. Like there's really simple ways to kind of root into this stuff and feel into the honesty of it, root, right? That truth. Justin, thank you. Funny, the Akashic records came up yesterday. Well, and that's where it's all that's the piece of why it can literally go why we can just let go and be free and have fun. It is all contained. Nothing is ever lost. Every relationship, every encounter, every aspect of creation that's ever been created is held, is supported in the Akash, right? And so we don't our limited human mind is so graspy because we're so afraid of death. We're so afraid of disconnecting from source, but that is like the one thing that is just completely impossible. The source is the fundamental of our creative output. All we need to do is remember that, tune into the source, and then we remember everything. We are the all-knowing self, right? From within the self, because that's all we need to know. All a little bit paradoxical, that. Right. I know. We can rise above that fear for sure. Gots to have the love heart vibration. And that's what we're doing here. We're all following the breadcrumb trails of our own uniqueness, right? Back to source. And yet source is with us all the time. There is an aspect of like back to just being the creator, being the playful, innocent child. I think that's something as well. A lot of us maybe feel once in a while or even more excited about is like just play. I would just hang out with friends and play. Like because we're adults, we're actually mature souls. We're not retard, and not that there's anything. And then I don't like using that word. Actually, I do apologize. Um, we're not that which we maybe were programmed to believe, and I think that's what we're finally really embodying, the truth of the wisdom of a greater self and a greater like knowing, but from within that humility, grace, and benevolence, right? So that's always the juice of life. I know, John. Look what you've created. I know. I didn't have to try, really. I just this is despair. This is discernment. I didn't have to try. I just had to show up, because I don't try to be who I am. I just am who I am, and then it's the showing up that was like I had to work through a lot of fear to get to the point of just showing up and not being afraid of who I am. So, you guys, what a glorious morning. We are rocking out the live shares, by the way, my beauties. Because this is almost 120 minutes or 120 minutes. This is almost an hour and 20 minutes of morning chat with my glorious friends from around the world who understand what I'm saying. So, Justin, here in the UK, it's just gone 7-Eleven. True, exactly, Tech Victor. I'm like, it's just the one, and yet it's all unique awesomeness, and we can reflect back that authenticity one another because we feel it, and then we can sift the bullshit if, as and when that might come close to our field, right? Good night, you guys. So wherever you guys are in the world, I wish you a beautiful day, an amazing afternoon, and a really chilled and beautiful evening and glorious sleep. 7-Eleven. So you're 11, 8 hours behind. That means it's 11:11. Booyakacha. That's 11. I'm an 11 number, master number. Yeah, good night, everybody. Look, 1:22:22. I'm out. I love you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Peace and love, hot vibrashe.